So this morning, I am speaking on Unity's metaphysical view of Christianity. This is the third talk in a six-part series um, that I'm giving on world religions. And this, I think, is a very interesting talk because Unity has a different view. It has a very expansive view of Christianity. The founders of Unity are Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, and they established Unity back in 1889. Um, and they describe Unity as a positive, practical Christianity, positive and practical. But it looks quite a bit different in some ways from traditional Christianity. And to me, that's the beauty. That's the beauty of it. For one thing, it interprets the Bible metaphysically, and it encourages reading a passage and seeing how it has meaning for us personally. And it sees the different writers of the different books as having different levels of consciousness. And Unity encourages always relying on an inner knowing, on an inner knowingness for authority in spiritual matters. So it's very empowering, and that's what I love about it. Charles Fillmore's favorite scripture of all was Christ in you, the hope of glory. Christ in you, the hope of glory, not Christ outside of you, the hope of glory. Christ in you, the hope of glory. And so he saw Christ consciousness as inherent potential within every human being, and that we can grow and blossom that potential. So I would say, and a lot of this, I want to just say this is my view and my opinion, but I would say that he took Jesus out of the zone of unreachable and being the great exception and put him into the zone of being the great example for us. And Fillmore was incredibly bold for his time because, this was over 100 years ago, when he inferred that the churches had gotten off track when he wrote, "It's safe to assert that no one can know the doctrine of Jesus Christ without going direct to him for information." Jesus appointed one teacher, the Comforter, the Holy Spirit. He shall teach you all things and bring to your remembrance all that I said unto you. Those words are really empowering. And they encourage us and empower us to trust in that spirit within us, that Christ consciousness that lives within, and go directly to that source. And I think Fillmore recognized that when you've got an enlightened teacher, but not so enlightened interpreters of the teaching, that it can veer off course. I see you nodding your heads. And when religion is used for power and control, it does tend towards personal disempowerment, doesn't it? The way Fillmore saw Jesus was he saw Jesus took the power of religion out of the hands of unenlightened leaders and gave it back to the people. So unity is often described as the path for people who say they're spiritual but not religious. How many people would say you're spiritual but not religious? Look at all those hands. How about you guys on Zoom? Yeah, that's a lot of hands. I would say unity is for people who know direct union is possible and want to extricate all the dogma and the misdirected views out of that spiritual teaching. The Washington Post, there's an article, recent article, that found that 25% of the people in the United States identify as spiritual but not religious. That's a lot. That's 1 out of 4. And that they have a negative view of organized religion and don't believe in God in the way God is described in the Bible. So these are the people that seem to often find their way to unity. and feel relieved because, okay, my opinion again here, unity has, I do feel, endeavored to take the dogma out of Christianity and return the focus to the incredibly enlightening teachings of Jesus. Incredibly enlightened teachings. He offered us so much spiritual wisdom, showing us how to live as an embodiment of peace, as an embodiment of love. So I have a kind of humorous story about unity. I used to tour unity churches for 25 years all over the country. And I was touring to Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I invited my dad to come see me. And dad was a very strict practicing Catholic. He'd never been to a unity church. But, Gaithersburg wasn't far from Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, where my dad was from. So my dad was a little skeptical, I think he thought at best it was not his thing. Maybe at worst it could be a cult or something, but dad loved me, so dad came. And he came, and he that morning I wasn't speaking, I was just doing the music. I was doing all the music. And so, the minister happened to be speaking on unity principles. So after the talk was over, the minister asked if there was anybody here for the first time, anybody new. And would they raise their hand and stand up and say hello? So dad raises his hand and he stands up. He's 6'3", and he's this John Wayne looking guy. And they hand him the mic. And I'm like, oh boy. And dad takes the mic and he goes, hello, I'm Carl Zavada. And I wasn't sure I wanted to come today, but that's my daughter singing, so I came to hear her sing. And I have to say that it feels really great to be here, and I agree with everything you've said. So, needless to say, I was incredibly relieved, but the most beautiful part of the day was after service was over, I went to my CD table, and everybody was coming to buy CDs, and dad's an accountant, so I put him in charge of the money. But that wasn't the best part. I mean, he liked that part. He kept the money very organized, and he thought it was great. And but what he loved was every person wanted to give him a hug. And dad had never, ever had that many hugs in one day. I don't think he'd had that many hugs in 10 years. And so as we left and as we drove, I went to Wilkes-Barre with him. It was like, I don't know, we went to see my aunt and uncle first in Reading, Pennsylvania. And the whole way, he was just talking about how great it was. And it was so funny when we got to my aunt and uncle's, my brother's in the back nodding, because they're very strict practicing Catholics too. And at the dinner table, dad was just going on and on about how great unity was. And they were like, not sure, you could tell. But it was just so beautiful how dad was testifying, and how he was just, his mind and heart was just opened up from all the love. It was really amazing. It wasn't long after that I got him to come meet Amma. That was like he got a hug from Amma. And then he found her video online and was just all enamored of Amma. So that was really, really amazing too. Yes, Jai Ma. Absolutely. So the core philosophy of unity is that the primary goal of human life, of our life, is to reach the consciousness level of Jesus, right? The Christ within, or the indwelling presence. And it's a belief that we have a divine heritage. And when we become conscious of it and actualize it, we become healthier, we become happier, we become more prosperous in every way. Unity has a big focus on healing and how our thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Remember that. That's really key. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. Really, way before Joe Dispenza, Charles Fillmore was talking about how we create with our thoughts. He would have loved Joe Dispenza, and he would have loved quantum physics. He was such an early mystic. He was really way ahead of his time. But similar to Buddhism, unity goes into great detail exploring the nature of the mind. There's this book, Heart-Centered Physics by Paul Hasselbeck. Highly recommended. It's really wonderful. There's 4 courses that Unity teaches on metaphysics, and that's a great book. But in that book, it reads, when we speak of the one mind or divine mind, we're referring to the divine source of all intelligence, and that we are individualized consciousness on our evolutionary journey to refine and purify our mind and open it to that unlimited intelligence of divine mind. And we, of course, open it, through stillness. We open it through meditation. We open it through chanting. And from the stillness, we receive divine ideas. I think I shared about the awakening I had at Brighton Bush. I was just in this silence for 8 hours. And when I finally, and I was just identified with infinity itself in the silence and love itself. And when I came back for like a month or so after, there were very few thoughts, but the thoughts that came, they were like revelation. They were like revelation written in pink across the sky. And that's divine idea. When we rest so deeply and completely in the stillness, the thoughts that then come from that connection in that place are profound. That's where the idea of this unity community of Ashland came from. It came from that deep silence and connection. So it was really Myrtle Fillmore. It was Charles Fillmore's wife who was the first one that opened up and had kind of a mystical awakening. She went to hear E.B. Weeks. She went to hear a metaphysician speak. And she had had tuberculosis her whole life. She had been sickly. She had been told she's going to die young. She's always going to be, weak and sickly. But this man, E.B. Weeks, said that all people have the capacity to heal themselves through their thoughts and beliefs. And, it was so incredibly empowering. There weren't a lot of people saying that back then, right? And it was life-changing. She got from that talk, I am a child of God and I do not inherit sickness. And she took that to heart. And she later wrote, all of us sooner or later come to the place in our development where we're no longer satisfied to go on living the old life without the knowledge of our oneness with God, our source of being. And so she went on to say, I began to claim my birthright and to act as though I believed myself the child of God, filled with that life energy. So I gained and I healed, and others saw the change and asked me to share it, and I did, and they were healed. And her husband saw all this and thought, wow, okay. And he was inspired. And so they really, they felt really strongly about Jesus as a metaphysical teacher, and the metaphysical teachings, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatsoever you will and it shall be done unto you. The me is the I am. The me, if you abide in me, if you abide in the Father, I and the Father are one, right? I and the Mother are one. So Unity developed this powerful use of affirmation and affirming and denying and using the power of the word connected to the I am, right? And going into the stillness, connecting and feeling the oneness, and out of that, using the I am and adding a word, I am power, I am illumined with divine intelligence, I am the light of the world, I am Christ. And then they taught to disempower doubt and disempower fear. I give no power to imperfect manifestation. I give no power to any thought or feeling of lack. So it's really powerful to rest in the I am of our being, right? The I am. Jesus had some really powerful words when he said, before Abraham was born, I am, right? He realized that, this is Charles Fillmore's words, he realized that the I am preceded all manifestation, however great, and was capable of infinite expression. So Fillmore went on to say that Jesus was the greatest of all exponents of the impersonal I am, which is revealed to man when he opens up the supermind within his own soul. So I think of the I am as our eternal being. The I am is before I am Kathy Zavada. The I am is after I am Kathy Zavada. When this body no longer is, I am, right? So there's a lot of beautiful teaching on how we rest and identify with the I am of our being. And what's interesting is they revere in unity the I am in the similar way that the Hindus revere Om. Because the word Om, the mantra Om, in Hinduism, they feel that is the originating sound of creation, that all creation comes out of the sound Om. And in the same way, all creation comes out of I am. I am well. I am light. I am healed. I am whole. I am unlimited. I am infinite love, right? It's so powerfully creative. And then conversely, we don't want to affirm what we don't want. Um, we don't want to say, I am a victim, I am unlovable, right? Or I am, unworthy. That has so much power. It's very creative. The universe is happy to, bring into being whatever we, whatever we hold in thought and connect to the I am. Filmer says the I am contains infinite creative capacity. The scriptures plainly teach that men and women may become gods. Wow, that's bold. Another different view in unity is that we are not originally sinful, but we are rather originally divine. That we are originally divine. And again, that's very similar to Hinduism and Buddhism. Unity adheres to the definition of the Greek word for sin, which is amartya, which defines sin as missing the mark, or to err. Fillmore describes it as falling short of divine perfection. And Fillmore says that we're not punished for our sins, but by them, due to forgetting who we are, forgetting our original divine nature. And that as we wake up to our true nature, as love, as intelligence, sin naturally falls away. We just start living dharmically. The more we embody love, the more we practice peace. I feel really aligned with this view because I feel my direct experience of whatever you want to name that, I call it the mother. It is so much love. It's like if you took all the love you ever felt and you put it in a big pile right here and you multiplied that by 1,000,000,000, that's how much love we are and we are held in and we are capable of feeling and expressing. And my mom always called this Earth School. It's a classroom, and we make mistakes, right? Did you ever make any mistakes in school? Yeah, to learn is to make mistakes, right? And what matters is that we learn from our mistakes and that we grow in wisdom. So the focus, I would say, in unity takes the attention off judgment and it places it more on love. Probably the most iconic story that Jesus told was of the prodigal son, right? You could change that story to make it the prodigal daughter too, right? And it could also be the father was the mother. You can change the story around. See, this is the metaphysical way. You take a passage, you make it have meaning for you. But basically, that story is about a son that was so incredibly loved, right, by his father, and he was so blessed, but he wanted to wander off and explore all manner of unconscious behavior and just explore the world to the point he became disillusioned with the material world and decided to turn back towards home, to turn back towards love and realizing maybe for the first time how incredibly valuable it is, right? And the part about just being so moved to humility, realizing that this loving presence never abandons us. That's what's so important to realize is how this presence is always there welcoming us home. Amma used to always say, If we take one step towards God, God takes 99 steps towards us. Right? I love that. When my mom died 7 months ago, that night of the day that she passed, I felt like I was having a life review with her. I just felt we were so close. I just felt our minds were as one. And it was interesting because I was seeing so much of her life, but also my life in relation to her. And these things would come up, and I would feel her want forgiveness for that. And I would feel this incredibly loving presence with us and remind her, oh, it's already forgiven. And then I would remember something or see something I did and wish I would have done better. And then I would feel this incredible healing love and forgiveness. And I just realized how much she did love her children. I mean, she just gave her whole life to take care of us and always have a beautiful home for us. And mostly as a single mother, just her whole life was taking care of her 3 children. And I just don't think I realized that as fully as I did in this life review. And I just realized how love is everything. And I really feel like that's Jesus's teaching. I mean, he was so about love. You know, love God, love your neighbor, love yourself, love each other, serve each other, forgive again and again and again and again and again, right? So, last thing I want to touch upon is, in my humble opinion, the biggest misdirection that happened in traditional Christianity, some of it. There's a branch called progressive Christianity now that's really, really evolving, and it's really exciting to me. But to me, the biggest misdirection was the misunderstanding of these words from Jesus. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can get to the Father except through me. Now, if you really explore those words, he is saying, I am the I am. I am truth. I am life. He's not saying, I am identified with his body and personality, Jesus, and you have to believe in this body and personality, Jesus. He's saying, I am the I am. You must know the I am. You must know your own being. You must know the life of your life, right? You must know the truth of who you really are as omnipresent and omnipotent and omniscient. That is how you too feel the oneness with the Father, Mother, God. So the I am is not a person. No one owns it, right? No religion has exclusive rights to it. You know, it is something we all have access to, whether or not we believe in Jesus or in another religion, right? So, you know, to me, when Jesus said, I am in this world, not of it, I've overcome the world, he's not identified with his body, right? Or his personality or his mind, right? His body is a drop of water in the ocean of the I am, right? And that's what we are. That's what our bodies are. They're a drop of water in the ocean of the I am that we are. Here's one more quote from Charles Fillmore. I liked it so much, I put it on Facebook. Truth is not the property of any particular race or chosen people, but it is given freely to all who open their understanding to that one divine mind from which the only real wisdom, life, and love ever come. Beautiful. All right. Well, I think I've put forth some pretty provocative thoughts this morning. Thank you for allowing me to share. I hope that it's inspired a food for thought, and I hope most of all to leave you with a sense of empowerment, that we truly are divine beings and we have infinite capacity for love, for healing, for creating, and for bringing greater beauty to this world. So may we feel excited about our divine blossoming as spring is arriving. May we also blossom. May our hearts blossom. May our minds blossom. May our spirits blossom and shine. Um, may it be so, and so it is. Thank you all. Namaste.